Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. So we are on the last week of the Modern Women's Health Summit. This has been an incredible event. We've brought in experts in nutrition and women's health to cover all different topics related to how we can be healthier women in this crazy modern world that very often does not make it easy for us to be healthy. So this video is live. Please comment, say hello to us, let us know that you're here. Please like this video, share it with your friends. And we are doing a special little bonus in this summit. It's called the Gold Nugget List. So essentially you connect with me on Messenger, and after each interview, I will send you the Gold Nugget lesson from the interview with an action step for you to start using this information in your real life. So there's a link in the comments. Just click that. It'll ask if you want to connect on Messenger, and you'll be all set. So today's interview, we are talking about minerals and your thyroid and adrenals. I am joined by Lydia Joy. She's a nutritional therapy practitioner and co-founder of the Holistic Mineral Balancing Program for holistic practitioners. Lydia works with women to radically transform their health using her mind-body coaching program and hair tissue mineral analysis, as well as other functional testing. She's created several online courses and helped hundreds of women regain their energy and recover their health. Lydia is also a single mom with 4 boys, ages 19, 15, 13, and 11. And she loves to hike and is an avid foodie and clearly a very busy lady. So thanks for joining me, Lydia.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Awesome. So do you want to get us started and just kind of tell us how you got started with nutrition and this whole field?
Sure. It's hard to pinpoint, but I kind of always innately had a desire to step into the world of health. And as a teenager, I was, kind of playing around with, should I be a nurse? Should I be a chiropractor? Should I do massage? I felt like those were the only options. And over time, I just kind of dove into my own studies more holistic approaches. Didn't really know of any opportunities of any programs or any trainings I could do. So I just kind of did my own digging. So I've always had that passion. And it wasn't until probably about 2010, I started a kind of like a health blog, did some more research, found out about the Nutritional Therapy Association through a book I read. And then I was like, that's it. I'm doing this. And so it was with my own desire to go deeper with that, as well as heal myself and, support my family, and have a great passion project, if you will, but also, kind of a way to, work on my own terms,
Sure.
that entrepreneurial spirit. So that's how I kind of got started. And, I'm just so grateful that, that training was available, and I continue to learn and grow, and I love being able to support people. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. And it's so cool to see what people do after the NTA training, how you expanded into specializing in minerals. And it's amazing the foundation it gives you to then go forward and continue learning.
Absolutely.
So I know you do hair testing with clients to assess their mineral status. Can you tell us how that works? Why test hair instead of blood or some other fluid?
Yeah. Everybody asks that. It's great. So basically 95% of your body's mineral mass is not in your blood. It's outside of the blood, and it's in your tissue. So when you're testing blood, you're just getting the snapshot of what's currently going on, but you don't see what's happening inside the tissues. Which is really important because there's a lot of information there. So, if a blood test is off, you're already kind of in trouble. So seeing inside the tissue, you're going to get way more information. And the other thing about tissue sample, which your hair is a tissue, like a protein structure of your body. So we use the hair, you could use fingernails too, but it's not invasive. So you don't have to cut yourself open and get some tissue. You just take the hair. That's why the hair. But also, we can get information because of the way heavy metals can be excreted into the hair too. So it's kind of that seeing the minerals and the heavy metals too, to kind of understand even more information, because there's kind of a push-pull relationship there between those two things as well. So yeah, it's a great question that everyone asks it, because we're so used to just our doctors taking blood, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I've done blood tests, urine tests, all of that, but never a hair test. So it's a really cool idea. And most people don't think, I grew up thinking hair was just dead skin or something. I forget where I heard that, but most people don't think there's anything really important in your hair. So to learn that it's a whole picture, an overview of what's happening in all of your other tissues too is really cool.
It is really cool. Yeah, it's a lot of information. So it's definitely more helpful if you want to get a better picture of kind of what's under the hood, so to speak. It tells you your current biochemistry. So I know most people may not understand that, but it's like kind of what's going on with your cells and how everything's working at a deeper level. So it's really cool. It really helps you see a lot more than just a blood test, which I love blood tests, by the way, don't get me wrong. But if you're wanting to kind of correct things and prevent things, you just get so much more to work with. And these things can happen. It can take a long time for mineral patterns to kind of set in. And people just don't know that. So it's a lot. It's very cool.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And it makes sense that the blood wouldn't be a great example of what's happening with your minerals, because your blood is so tightly controlled. Like your pH is so tightly regulated, and your calcium in your blood. And so if that's off, like you were saying, like you are not doing well by the time it shows up in your blood.
Right. Yeah.
So we wanted to look specifically at adrenal and thyroid health. What are some signs that might tip someone off who's watching that their adrenals or thyroid might need some support?
Ooh, so many. So first, it's important for people to understand these two glands, your adrenals. They're, if you don't know what they are, they're these two little glands that sit atop your kidneys. Obviously, our thyroid's right here in our neck. They are your two main energy producing glands in your body. So if anything's going wrong with either, even a small discrepancy or imbalance, it's going to show up in your overall energy, not just like the energy you need to get up and go in the morning, which is what we all think. Oh, I need my coffee to get me going. Or, we have this idea that we got to go, right? That kind of energy. The overall energy to run your whole body, the stuff we take for granted, the stuff that's going on inside, the healing, the deeper healing, the cellular energy, all of that, right? So those two energy glands help kind of run our bodies. And when they're not working great, there's a lot of reasons why, you're going to start to see loss everywhere. So the first thing people will be like is, I just don't have enough energy. I have to drink lots of coffee. I need stimulants, that kind of thing. They're dragging their anchor. They can't get out of bed, that slow start to the day, fatigue, just that rundown feeling like you want to have more energy. So that's an obvious one. But then, it kind of snowballs into a lot of other things. It can impact your mood. So if you don't have a lot of energy, your mood isn't going to be as great. You can have apathy, lack of motivation, even depression, even like swings where you're wired but tired. You can go from anxiety to depression, kind of just feel like you can't balance your mood, that kind of thing. And you understand that doesn't feel right to you, that kind of thing. You know what I mean? Cold hands and feet is a big one for both glands. So both of them are struggling. You're going to have a harder time circulating all the blood to the extremities. Hair loss is a big one. Women seem to notice that. Maybe the outer eyebrow is starting to thin out and disappear.
That's a good one. A lot of people don't know that would mean anything.
Yeah, they just are like, what? And everybody like paints in their eyebrows these days anyway.
Yeah.
But we're supposed to have robust hair on our eyebrows. let's see what else. For adrenals, the worse off you get, you can have really low blood pressure. You can get hypoglycemia. If you are really bad off and you're sitting down and you stand up suddenly, feel dizzy and wonky, like, and wonder why do I feel like that? Let's see what else. There's so many. Weakened immune system, allergies, people who get sick and they can't seem to get better fast. Gosh, so many. There's so many. It just really impacts your whole body. So the first,
I mean, that covers like everything going on in your body and the way you feel.
Oh my goodness, everything. Yeah. The other one that's interesting, especially for the adrenals, that I don't think people, they kind of control your center, your core, and they impact the ability for your muscles in your core to be strong. So people who have low back pain, people who throw their back out all the time, I did this. I bent over one day to pick up a sock, literally threw my back out so bad for like a while because I had such bad adrenal fatigue.
Yeah.
People who can't stand up straight and they're like leaning on their shopping cart and they're always struggling to just hold their body up. They just have that weaker core. Sometimes that can be lack of movement, but lack of movement can be because you're so tired because you have adrenal fatigue.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, there's so many things. There's so many weird little symptoms that can be connected to these two energy glands struggling.
Yeah. So if someone is experiencing issues with their thyroid or adrenal fatigue, are those issues likely caused by a lack of minerals, or would bringing in the minerals kind of just help aiding in the recovery that needs to take place?
Well, it's definitely because the minerals are missing in the first place. So let's take a step back. So really quick, for those who are not familiar with minerals, our soil has been deficient since the early 1900s with nothing done to rectify it. So all the food that's grown in the soil isn't as robust in minerals to begin with. So for a long time, we've just kind of had a little less to go on than maybe our ancestors did. So there's that. Then there's all kinds of things that affect our ability to absorb them and we deplete them very quickly. The biggest thing that depletes minerals is stress. So the more your body kind of gets into that overdrive where you're kind of like in adrenaline fight or flight mode, you burn through minerals very quickly. So if you already aren't getting enough in your diet, and our culture kind of perpetuates living in fight or flight, if you hadn't noticed, and so we just don't know that we're kind of burning through our minerals. So if you're not consuming a mineral-rich diet or taking like good trace minerals or something, over time, it's just gonna snowball. So you could find yourself, struggling with your health over time and wonder, how's this happening to me? That's a big piece of why. So remind me the question again. I have to always paint the big picture first.
Yeah, that was fantastic. And I think that's a great message for a lot of people who, I work with a lot of women who are in their late 20s or early 30s and are like, I was totally fine and amazing. And then all of a sudden, I just totally lost my energy. And we blame it on age. But the idea that you're using up these stores of nutrients, you're depleting yourself. And once you've depleted it, or at least gotten low enough, you're going to feel the effects of it. So yeah, that kind of answered my question. I was asking if these issues with adrenals and thyroid are caused by a lack of minerals, or if something else causes it, but the minerals will help to regain that vitality. And so it sounds like yes to both.
Yeah, like if you kind of think of it in terms of like minerals give us our spark.
Like a spark plug.
Yeah, they're like a spark plug. So you use them up, you don't just get them back. You have to replace them. We don't make them in our bodies. And that's the thing most people don't understand is how important they really are for your energy and your overall health. And so you do have to replace them, but that's tricky. But yeah, it's possible for sure.
Yeah. So are there certain minerals that we should be paying attention to for the adrenals and thyroid, or, are all of the minerals equally important?
They're all important because minerals all have an impact on each other. They all have kind of a push-pull relationship, but there are some that we can talk about that are a little bit more like a high priority. The first one I would say that everyone should know about and hopefully be doing something about is magnesium. That's a biggie because we need it for ATP production, which is like how we get energy in the first place. And we need it for tons and tons of actions inside of our body that our body just needs to be doing every day that we just aren't aware of. And the more we get depleted in magnesium, then the more we get depleted in sodium and potassium. And then there's just this kind of snowball effect. So magnesium, in my opinion, is kind of like the master mineral. It's just got so much power, and it's definitely lacking for sure in our soil and our diet. So that one can be a big game changer for a lot of people because it has this really balancing effect in the body. So I usually love to get people familiar with that and start there and help them feel better, because usually it fixes some problem they're having,
Yeah.
And then start to kind of balance with the other minerals that are affected in their body as well. But that's a big one. Another mineral that I love to talk about for both adrenal issues and thyroid is potassium. And this one's fun because we all need it in quite a significant amount in our diet. This one you could get a pretty hefty amount if you have a really good real food diet, but even then it can be tricky. We need about 4,700 milligrams of potassium a day. That's a lot. And I've done the kind of test where I spent a whole week literally calculating my potassium in my food. Of course, we don't ever know for sure how much minerals are in our food unless somebody went and tested them. But we can kind of get these ideas from research that's done. And it is hard, even with a good real food diet. So
I've done the same thing. And I was so surprised that I don't think any day I actually got to my minimum requirement of potassium. And I eat, very well, whole food diet, breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks. And even then it was hard to get everything you need.
Yeah. I mean, as long as you are getting it in your diet, that's good. But like, if you're really struggling and you need to recover your health, that one's one that, a lot of times I do need to help people supplement a little bit, but first of all, just for the record, every single hair test I've ever seen to date, people have low potassium. And there's a lot of reasons why, but one of the things that happens when you have low potassium is you have a harder time holding on to your minerals in your body. So it just makes it harder to hold on to and keep them. So you really have to work hard to get that potassium in the first place. It will give you energy. It can help, it helps with muscle contraction, things like that. So a lot of people who have adrenal or thyroid issues, one of the big symptoms that I've heard a lot is that afternoon slump, where you're like, oh my gosh, I need coffee. But at the same time, you feel a little anxious. This one's a big one. Like I've heard that across the board from so many people. And so I started to make a connection, and I've recommended people get some potassium. So one of the best potassium-rich foods is coconut water. And I'm sorry if you don't like it, but it is definitely a quick hit of potassium. You don't have to digest it and break it down. Like, it goes straight into your body, so you can feel its benefits really quickly. And for the women who are telling me, they have brain fog, they have that afternoon slump, or energy loss or whatever it is, that doing that, really focusing on a potassium-rich snack or drink when they feel that way, lifts them right out of it. And so it's really powerful, it's really powerful just to start to pay attention to, there's a lot of great foods that are rich in it. And even just getting that little bit and knowing you need it can just help you out. And, while you're trying to get to the deeper reasons and do that deeper healing, it's definitely a game changer for so many people. So I love potassium. It's in a lot of whole foods. It's great in greens, leafy greens, sweet potatoes, avocados. Coconut water is the best, by the way. And then, gosh, there's so many minerals. I love them all. Zinc is another one that's a very stabilizing mineral, and it has a big job to play. It's definitely an adrenal mineral. So, again, you can pay attention to it in your diet. We're talking meats, pumpkin seeds, whole foods. So that can help, but I really pretty much think everyone needs to supplement. I can't tell you the dose and the form on this training, but if you're getting it in your diet, that's great. But if you still have adrenal fatigue or thyroid issues, it's really an important one to get there in your supplement routine, because it has a big job to play with regulating other things. Copper being one of them, but that's a big rabbit trail we won't go on today.
Yeah, we can have a whole other hour about copper and zinc.
I think we need more than an hour. Selenium. Selenium is great. Selenium's hard to get in the diet too, especially if you have thyroid issues, because it kind of jumpstarts your thyroid a little bit. It's also really great for your immune system, which I had said when you struggle with adrenal fatigue and energy, as well as thyroid, you often tend to get sick more and can't really get better as quickly as you maybe used to when you were younger. Or a lot of autoimmune issues are definitely going to be connected to that too. So selenium is a really cool mineral because it really helps your thyroid and your immune, but it also can combat some of the effect of things like mercury. And we have to talk about heavy metals for 1 second, because they are part of the reason why your adrenals and thyroid are struggling, is because we're all exposed to them, and there's a lot of moving parts there. But that's a player too. That's part of the reason why, most of us have somewhat of a out of balance adrenal thyroid situation going on in our health. And selenium's a nice mineral to kind of help against that. And mercury sequesters selenium. So if you're someone who eats a lot of seafood, or if you have any amalgam fillings in your mouth, or ever played with mercury from the thermometers as a kid, which I hear all the time, it's hilarious. People are like,
yes,
oh, we used to play with it.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
So those are a couple that I tend to focus on in all the women with adrenal and thyroid issues, for sure. And usually we're supplementing in addition to really focusing on it in the diet. And those are some big players. But again, you really don't want to ever single supplement with too much for too long without knowing what else is going on, because you can throw things out of balance. So for one thing, for really quick, is if you let's say you took too much magnesium, which people find out about magnesium, they get it, they're like, yes, and they think more is better, I need a lot of it. And they go and they take all this magnesium and then they crash. And so you definitely have to be careful with supplementation, because you don't know what else is going on and what it impacts. So I have to disclaim that, because I don't want anyone to walk away from this, doing anything too much to affect them. But, magnesium is something you could take. About 400 milligrams is a very safe amount for most people.
Yeah.
It depends on your size and your weight and things like that. But getting some in is a great start for most people, because it's, you're going to go have a stressful experience in your life, a death in the family, a job loss, a car accident, emotional stress, relational stress. You eat too much sugar or certain things, you're going to burn through that magnesium. So it's really important to get it in there, even just a little bit until you know more. So that one for sure.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So we were going to talk about iodine later in our interview, but we had someone just ask about iodine for the thyroid. Do you want to go ahead and address that since we're talking about specific minerals at the moment?
Sorry. Yeah, well, yes, I want to say, first of all, let's go backwards for a second. Iodine is so important. Again, it's another one that we really aren't getting enough in our diet. And then we have all these things competing for its absorption, such as heavy metals, chlorine, fluoride, stuff like that. So yes.
Chlorine, fluoride, that would just be in our tap water.
Oh yeah, in your water. No, we're never gonna be able to avoid these things.
Yeah.
So, and the only way to get fluoride out of the body or kind of combat it is with iodine. So yes, we need iodine. Yes, it helps our thyroid. Yes, it helps us make thyroid hormone. It doesn't work by itself. It has a lot of cofactor nutrients that need to be in place. And it's a very powerful mineral. It actually will get rid of those things that I was just saying, like chlorine, bromide. And on their way out, they kick and scream a little, and they don't make you feel so good.
Yeah.
So I can't tell anyone just go take iodine. You really have to know a safe approach and work with someone to do that. But if you have hypothyroidism, it's definitely a game changer. And gosh, it can just make you feel so amazing. But approaching it is a little tricky. So, you don't want to just go out and try it and take it without knowing. You really should just work with somebody.
Yeah, iodine is one of the most, if not the most controversial nutrient I've ever learned about. Do you want to talk about why is iodine so controversial? Because it's so important in the body. It does so many things, but there are very passionate voices on both sides of the iodine conversation. What happened that we even got there?
Yeah, so I have my theories on this. Like, first of all, you have to understand its vital role in human health. And when you can understand that and see the research, it is there, then you have to ask yourself the question, well, then why wouldn't we take a mineral we need for our health? Well, the reason I believe is because we're already kind of all somewhat, unfortunately, dysfunctional when it comes to, minerals and, having all these toxins in our body. So because iodine is so incredibly powerful, it's even in the research about cancer that it can help with that. Yeah. We have to understand that we're putting something so powerful into our body that what it's stirring up can cause some distress. So I'll give you a couple examples. Because I teach this, I've had so many people come to me, oh my gosh, iodine is dangerous. Don't ever touch it. And I'm like, okay, well, tell me why you said that. And it's usually because they took some by itself in a significant amount and they had a reaction. And the reaction in somebody who's already hypothyroid, already dealing with anxiety, already stressed out, is scary. It's very scary because what can happen is if you have toxicity in your thyroid, it can feel like your throat is swelling up. Some people get extreme anxiety, maybe some palpitations, maybe they flush and they just don't know how to handle it. So there's a lot of confusion there when we're hearing those kinds of stories.
Yeah, and that's definitely scary for someone to experience.
Yeah, but it doesn't have to be like that. So I work with it very carefully. Some people are so sensitive that even if they put like a little topical on their thyroid, it'll flare up and it'll scare them.
Wow.
You know, and so, you don't want to just go play around with it. That's for sure. But there are plenty of doctors who have been working with iodine for long enough to see some really powerful case studies. So, with that in mind, we know it's powerful and it works and it can do wonders. But the approach to using it has to be very carefully constructed with every individual. Yeah. So let's say you have someone who is on thyroid medication. Maybe they have some nodules, things like that. Maybe their TSH tends to be high. They're on medication. They've been working really hard to get their TSH where it's supposed to be. Going on iodine for a while will change your TSH before it evens back out. And nobody understands that. So people get upset because, oh my gosh, my TSH is going up. And there's an explanation for that. I don't want to go there today, but so that's another thing. Some people will gain a lot of weight. They take iodine. They'll start to gain weight and they'll think it's because they're taking iodine and it's making something wrong. It's so much more than that. It's their body isn't clearing all those toxins effectively. So it's not the iodine, it's the approach. And it's knowing when the body's really ready, knowing all the moving parts to make iodine work more effectively. Some people have to start really, really slow and work their way up. Some people maybe just aren't ready and they need to wait until their body's healed a little more. Some people have medical issues that you just really need to work with a doctor who's trained on this. So I am 100% in the camp of, yes, we need iodine. Yes, let's use it, but please don't do it yourself. Yeah, so I've worked with a number of people and I've seen a lot. Like I've seen the whole gamut of things and I've seen some really cool, powerful healing too. So I can't dismiss it, especially when your whole body and every cell needs iodine to function effectively, and it impacts all your hormones. So if you have adrenal and thyroid issues and you're testing your hormones and they're not what they're supposed to be, iodine is going to help stabilize that in time. So, there's a lot of confusion out there, a lot of fear, but there's a lot of really good research too, and people who know what to do and how to do it. So those are the people you need to find.
Yes. And it sounds like, being proactive and taking care of some of the foundational things first.
Yeah.
Getting your digestion working on some of the other minerals, getting sufficient in some of those is probably a safe bet for people to start working on that, and then find someone who can help with that iodine piece to figure out what your body really needs.
Yeah. Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. So I'm curious, you mentioned there's a couple of medical conditions where someone would really need to work with a doctor as well. Would Hashimoto's hypothyroid be in that camp?
I mean, I've worked with clients who have Hashimoto's who are working with their doctor, and we collaborate because their doctor wasn't trained on it. So it's more like someone who has had their thyroid removed. That's tricky. You really need to find someone who knows what they're doing. And because you don't just need iodine for your thyroid, your whole body. So, for me personally, there's certain people that, I really want them to go under medical advisement. But I think it's really just about really understanding how it can work and how it can impact your thyroid labs and then how to proceed. So, someone without a thyroid, that's probably where I tend to try to lean them towards a doctor.
Yeah, that makes sense. And it's always a good reminder to have a team of people that you're working with.
Yeah.
if you are working with a nutritionist or another practitioner and you're working with your doctor, get those people on an email thread or talking to each other about what's going on so you can, really be proactive in making sure that the recommendations you're getting from both sides are, to your betterment.
Yeah. And like in something like that, they can certainly consume iodine in their diet. I mean, that's always fine for most people. That's the thing that cracks me up is we're so scared of iodine, yet we're proactively trying to get people to eat it in their food.
Yeah.
It's just when it gets into that therapeutic dose and longer term treatment that people haven't figured out how to overcome all the bumps that can come up.
Mm-hmm. That makes a lot of sense. So in your practice, how common is it for someone to be struggling with both adrenal and thyroid issues, or is it usually one or the other?
So I guess I feel like I need to disclaim. So there's kind of this understanding of I have hypothyroidism because I was tested, right? And I had my hormones checked. Adrenal fatigue is a little harder to medically diagnose, but most people who say they have adrenal fatigue did some kind of online search.
Sure, yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I have the symptoms. So they may be focused more on I have hypothyroidism and not know anything about their adrenals, or they've discovered they have adrenal fatigue, not think they have hypothyroidism because they don't have the key hypothyroid symptoms. You know what I'm saying? Like there are some differences. That said, through hair tissue mineral analysis, I can look at both glands and their effectiveness to the cells. So I'm not looking at your hormones. I'm looking at all these other cool moving parts. And I haven't seen anyone with either gland perfectly robust. So some people can be more of an adrenal type and some people can be more of a thyroid type. Like there's definitely some differences. And that's, a whole long thing. But what I'm looking at is I see both are not at their best function. And yeah, it's definitely very common for both to be struggling. And again, the heavy metals are part of the reason for that, in addition to the fact that most people don't have enough mineral reserves in their body to begin with. So those are a couple of key reasons. But yeah, they definitely go hand in hand. Hope that helps.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And we were kind of talking before the interview about how we get so focused on the one thing that we've been diagnosed with or the one thing that we know we have. And we can kind of put our blinders on. So if we're focused on adrenals and then we hear something about thyroid, our brains are trained to, just look for the things that will help us. And so it's going to tune out anything about thyroid if you're focusing on your adrenals. But having the reminder that everything is connected and everything is really drawing on the same group of nutrients coming in with your food, that set of nutrients doesn't change just because you have adrenal problems or thyroid problems. You're needing all those nutrients for all of them anyway.
Yeah. And you know what? I want to say something really quick. It's not just the nutrition, guys. It's if you look at your body, you have two sides to your nervous system. You guys know what your nervous system is, I think, right? So you have two branches. You have your sympathetic and your parasympathetic. So we were talking a little while ago about that fight or flight mode that our culture kind of perpetuates. And so we tend to be in the sympathetic side of our nervous system more. We're driving hard. We're work focused. We're doing focused. We're generating energy focused. We're like performance focused. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're focused on that driven side versus what the Eastern cultures are really good at is the meditation, and they're balancing their parasympathetic, and they know how to rest, and they know how to have good boundaries and say no. And not
Americans do not know how to relax.
do things and go, go, go. So I don't want people to walk away just thinking, oh my gosh, I don't get enough nutrition. It's definitely a big player, but you can do a lot for your adrenals and your thyroid by understanding that you need to rest. You probably are like going to be like, yay, I'm already too tired anyway. I can't do anything. Let me rest. But you do need to understand it's a balance, and our culture doesn't really allow for that, if you will, like our mindset. So, practices that help you balance your nervous system can go a long way. And then you're not going to be in that perpetual depletion of mineral mode. You're going to stabilize and then be able to kind of feel like you're getting yourself back. So, things like meditation, or just spending time in nature, or just, doing some type of exercise that's not so intense. Like, it doesn't have to be yoga. Gentle Pilates can be great. Stretching. Like, it doesn't have to be, I have to go to the gym and do all this cardio, and I have to be a CrossFitter and a competitive athlete. Those are all great, but those things by themselves are going to kind of, impact your nervous system. And so if you're already tired and you're doing those things more than you're doing the restful things, you're going to, it's going to continue to be this, like, I'm always trying to fight my way back to feeling good. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think just understanding that you can really kind of take charge of your lifestyle too, to support, because that's, the big part is like, I'm really looking at people's nervous system too, and, helping them understand how to find that balance. And it can be really hard, but the more you slowly kind of implement one habit and another, you can learn to find it, and it's definitely possible.
What a cool tool to be able to see this broad picture of what is going on inside the body and how the cells are functioning and what's going on with your energy on a cellular level. That's just an amazing thing to be able to see for someone.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah. And people connect to it more when they see it.
Oh yeah.
It's like, I know for me, the very first time I was in burnout, like my health kept crashing. Single mom, I was starting a business. I didn't have any help. I was already struggling with my health. I had PTSD. And I just kept crashing, even with all my nutrition knowledge and all the things I was doing. And the first hair test I ever saw on myself, I was just a wreck. And it was like, oh my gosh. And then it was like, oh, okay. All right. Now I've got some idea of why. So I could kind of give myself that grace, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
And have, kind of knowledge of like where I needed to go, and what to do. So it's very cool to be able to have that under the hood look.
Yes, because our culture does have a perception of, you just need to push harder. You're just not doing it enough. You're not doing enough in the first place. You're not doing it right. You need to just keep going, keep pushing. And so to see on paper what's happening in your cells, it's like, no, it's not about working harder. It's not about, paleoing harder with your food.
Right.
It's about what's going on inside your body. And there are some very concrete things you can do to support that.
Oh my goodness. Yes. Yeah.
How cool. So tell us, where can people learn more about you? Where can they connect with you? I'm sure everyone watching is gung-ho to get an HTMA done to see what is going on with their minerals. I know that's the next piece of my journey, is something that I need to do as well. So where can people connect with you, and where can they learn more about that?
Well, you're welcome to email me, lydiajoyme@gmail.com. My website, I'm going to spell it out for you. It's a little clunky. It's lydiajoy.mykajabi.com. I'm sure you can pop that in there somewhere.
Yeah, I'll edit this post and put in all your links.
Yeah, and I'm on Instagram, lydiajoy.me. I have a Facebook group, Vibrant Health with Lydia. And yeah, there's just a lot of ways to get in there. And I did give you a link for one blog post if you want to share, so people can see it all in one place about kind of the mineral piece and the adrenals and stuff. So that's a cool one to read first to kind of see it more in one place. So.
Yeah, I'll link to all of your social media accounts where people can connect with you and to that blog post, because that was a really great kind of overview of everything we talked about.
Yeah. Cool.
So before I let you go, since Halloween is coming up and it's all candy and sugar, I've been asking everyone in the summit to share a little tip or an idea to help everybody have a healthier Halloween this year.
Can I give 2?
Of course. Yes. As many as you have.
Oh gosh. Well, let's assume people are going to eat the candy. And of course we all have the choice whether we're going to do it or not. You know, one of the things I do for my kids, because they do trick or treat, I'm full disclosure here, they eat the candy, is I feed them like a really hearty, nourishing meal and give them some, maybe like an electrolyte drink or something. So I'll make like a beef stew or something that just fills them up really well, because then maybe they won't eat as much when they're on the you know, trick or treat trail. Just to kind of buffer that a little.
Yeah.
And then I would get some magnesium, you guys. You know, magnesium glycinate is probably the one I could say is relatively good for everyone.
Okay.
Or some electrolyte packets, and just kind of drink those over the next couple of days.
Preparing for the sugar intake.
Yeah, because you know, the more sugar you eat, the more you're kind of robbing yourself of magnesium and other minerals. So you're gonna probably get sick or feel bad or have a, you know, that carb flu where you get really tired or whatever. It could affect your mood, that kind of thing. So, you know, why not? If you're going to eat the candy, why not, you know, buffer it with supporting yourself with some minerals. That is my tip.
Yeah, that's a fantastic tip. Just be proactive, and just if you want to eat the candy and be proactive about, you know, having a good dinner and getting some minerals. It's great. Before we sign off, do you want to just explain to people what carb flu is? Because you kind of threw it out there and some people might not know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so I mean, basically the more sugar you eat, the more it can elevate your blood sugar really high, really fast. And then it can kind of crash down. Well, first of all, when your blood sugar is raised up really high, you can feel really tired. I mean, drop your head and your plate tired, just like, so it might make you sleep better, but you would drag through your day. And then it kind of has such an effect systemically that it can impact your immune system. So I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but right around after Halloween is when everyone starts getting sick. And then they start talking about the flu. It's not the flu. It's because you ate too much candy. So, and everyone does this, like everyone, adults, children, the teachers at school are getting the leftover candy. I mean, it's everywhere. So just to know, like, if you're going to do it, you may end up feeling bad. And, you know, there's ways you can combat that if you're going to choose to do it anyway. And it's not because you got the flu and you need a flu shot. It's because your body's kind of dealing with that overload, that influx of sugar that it really can't do much with. Has to figure out what to do with it in the body. And so a lot of times that starts with that lack of energy and the fatigue, unless you eat more sugar, because you're going to be tired and you're going to want more sugar.
Vicious cycle.
It is a vicious cycle. So, you know, just some awareness around it, and then, you know, take care of yourself too, you know. Definitely take care of your health during this time of year for sure. Because it is, you know, we're heading into the winter. People tend to get sick anyway. So
yeah, that's fantastic.
Here we go, right?
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for this. This has been very enlightening. I hope that it was enlightening for everyone who was watching. Again, I will edit the post right after this and link to all of Lydia's links so that you can connect with her, learn more about HTMA, and get that done. For a lot of people, that's probably the next part of the journey, is taking a look at what's going on with your minerals. If you've been eating really well for a while and need that last piece, that's probably what it is.
Yeah.
Awesome. And I'll be back on tomorrow for the final interview in our Modern Women's Health Summit. I'm interviewing Cynthia Thurlow on supporting your gut health in order to support your hormonal health. So please join me for that. And I'll see everybody tomorrow.
Bye.